I didn't realize that I wasn't feeling good in the mornings until I started eating something.
Mm.
And it wasn't huge, but it was, she had like what she do a lot of my egg bakes and stuff, and just have a small piece of that. And she was like, oh my gosh, like I'm a different person. But so when she started getting protein in the morning and lunch and dinner and really focusing on that. And she was one that also felt good. We just played around with it, not having huge portions of vegetables. She probably after 2 weeks said, my desire to snack at night has vanished. She said, it's gone. I don't want it. I could sit down and watch TV and not even think, and my husband could be eating a snack and I'm going to think, oh, I want something else. Just gone.
Welcome to my podcast, I Think I Can. My intention for the podcast is for individuals to begin a transformational journey towards self-awareness and self-actualization. And I do this by telling my own story, as well as all the stories from my past clients. And I do this so that you too can feel safe knowing that change is available to you, but also so you can take more responsibility for your life in 3 specific ways: in your health, your self, and your wealth. Now sit back and enjoy the show. Okay, welcome everyone to I Think I Can podcast. So today I'm so happy you guys will remember Elizabeth Resnick well. I wanted her back on the podcast because, well, Elizabeth and I talk once in a while and we realize that there's still more myths to bust out there when it comes down to building muscle as we age and shedding weight and menopause, like havocs and all the things. So welcome back, Elizabeth Resnick.
Thank you, Luella. Happy to be back.
Okay. And for everybody, just so your quick reminder, Elizabeth is a doubly certified health coach. And she's been doing this for a long time. She sees clients by video all over the world, Canada, US, and she's on social media. She gives out tons of free info and just put out an recipe book, which I have purchased, and it's full of wonderful meal ideas as well. So I guess, Elizabeth, I think one of the reasons I said I need you back on here was that, you know, if people follow you, they know that you do prioritize protein and obviously produce as well. But I know that some people feel like it's very, very difficult to get protein into the diet. Especially somebody who's allergic to eggs or something like that, or sensitive to egg whites. I mean, it's a thing. I think I actually am. So what are some other ideas about how we can get more protein into the diet?
Okay, I am full of ideas. So I love eggs, and it's funny because I do post a lot of what I'm eating, and people say like, oh, I've had that question. Well, I can't eat eggs. Or what if I just get sick of eggs? I'm like, you don't have to eat eggs. Like anything that I'm sensitive dairy. That's fine. I got plenty of protein for years without any dairy. Now I do consume some dairy and it works well for me. But one thing that I will say is that I do believe that you are going to feel better. Most people, I don't ever like to make blanket statements, are going to feel better getting a lot of their protein from animal sources. And this is coming from someone I was a vegetarian for over 30 years, vegan for some of that. And I respect everybody's choices. Good friends that are vegan. My son is a vegan. I would never, if something is working for somebody, amazing. But I can say that I know from my own personal experience, my body composition is better now in my late 50s than it was in my 20s. And one of the big differences is definitely that I'm getting more protein, but I do feel that getting animal protein has worked better for my body and does for a lot of women. But it doesn't have to be at, if you don't like eggs, that's fine. If you don't do dairy, that's fine. If you don't like red meat, but you like fish, like there's a million ways you can make this work. But I do feel most people would benefit from having some animal protein in their diet.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a specific reason why you feel like animal protein is better than plant
Yeah,
protein?
100%. Because every time most plant proteins come with a lot of carbs. So let's take protein powders out of the picture for a minute, because that's not even, to me, they're not really real food. I think they can be a supplement. They can be an add-on, but I really like to see people getting their nutrition from real food first. So plant protein is coming from things like peas. There's a lot of starch and carbs attached to that. Lentils. Again, these are good foods. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with peas or lentils. But all the, or, soy can end up being very inflammatory for a lot of people, but you're getting a lot of carbs attached to that protein. So just to get the amount of a satisfactory amount of protein to build muscle, and a common recommendation, and again, I'm not about blanket statements, is to be getting, for women, to getting at least 30 grams of protein per meal. If you are doing that strictly through plant-based sources, you just end up consuming a lot of calories and a lot of starch along with that protein. So animal protein is just going to be more efficient. You're going to get more protein in way fewer calories, and it's going to be more complete. I'm not going to get down into breaking down the amino acids and everything, but you're going to be really getting what your body needs more efficiently, getting some of that protein from animal sources.
Okay, which brings up another couple questions for me.
Sure.
As you were speaking there. Should we be looking at calories, because you just mentioned like we're taking in a lot more calories because of the carbohydrates, and actually answer that first, because I forgot my
okay. Well, I mean, calories, I'm not saying everybody needs to first of all, I think it makes people crazy if you're rigidly tracking all of your macros. I don't think that's necessary. But I do think there's two that I think it's good to be aware of them. And if there's any two that you are going to track, and I personally do, it's just my own personal choice as an observation. I'm kind of my own experiment. And I have a lot of clients do this in the beginning, at least as they're getting on track and seeing what's working, are, you want to make sure you're getting enough protein, so having that add up, and then not too many calories. I mean, if we're eating calories in, calories out is a little oversimplified, but at the end of the day, if you're looking to lose weight, as many women are, or at least if you want to lose weight, you need to be in some type of a calorie deficit, meaning you are burning off more than you're taking in. So yeah, we should be aware of the calories that are in our food. I'm not saying you have to measure and track every single thing, but we need to at least be aware. So just to give an example, I had some Alaskan sockeye salmon last night for dinner. I really love salmon. And just looking at the nutrition information for I want to say it was around a 6-ounce fillet, it was 220 calories and 37 grams of protein. That is a lot of protein in not a lot of calories. To get 37 grams of protein in lentils, I haven't done the math, but it's going to be a whole lot of calories and a whole lot of bulk that is going to it's probably going to make you feel really full and bloated. Like, I want to feel satisfied and satiated for my food, but I don't want to feel full and stuffed. To me, that's not a good feeling.
No, that actually, you reminded me what my second question was, which is okay. Personally, it was interesting. Okay, because you mentioned bulk, and when I think of bulk, I think of fiber. And so just a couple nights ago, like, I was sort of on this like protein thing. Like, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to take a steak, and I'm going to, because this is always a challenge for me. It's like, I feel like I don't consume enough animal protein. And I thought, no, I'm going to be very cognizant of this this evening for my meal. And I had a good size steak on my plate, and I did have produce as well. But because it is so satiating, I did not eat as much produce. Full transparency, the next morning I did not have a bowel movement, which we all know is very important, like for many different reasons. I mean, just like sluggish.
We want to keep everything moving.
We do.
100%.
Okay.
Everybody's miserable if they don't go in the morning.
Exactly. So then, of course, I'm going, why is this happening? And then I'm thinking, damn it all, that damn steak, and like, so, I mean, meat protein especially is much more satiating, and therefore, like, I'm thinking we do have less vegetables. Where are we getting the fiber?
Well, first of all, you don't need, fiber is agree, it's important for our digestion. There's no real definitive answer on how much we need. And it's biologically speaking, humans always went after like protein first. So why you were constipated the next morning, I can't specifically answer, but if you've gotten used to having large amounts of fiber to keep things moving, then that is a transition for your body. I can tell you, and I share a lot of my meals, but I don't eat really large amounts of produce. I don't, and my body's, everything's functioning.
Yeah.
So I know other people eating like I do. So some of it is your body gradually adjusting. Again, I know we've talked about magnesium. That's a game changer for a lot of women.
Yes.
But yeah, we don't necessarily need large amounts of fiber. It is important, the gut bacteria and all of that. Fiber is great. But I can eat a steak and just a little small portion of asparagus or something, and I feel great, and everything.
Everything is moving.
Yeah.
So it could just be adaptability.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Because I used to eat a whole lot more fiber than I do when I was vegetarian. Yeah. And especially as a vegan, it was all fiber. And my digestion is much happier and smoother now. I'm not saying this is true. There's not this one perfect meal plan that's going to work for everybody. But when I was getting everything from plants, I had a lot of times a very distended belly, a lot of digestive issues. I was really downing the green smoothies and a lot of things. And maybe, I was just bloated a lot of the time.
Yeah. That's, and you probably don't like, and no one necessarily, or I think should all of a sudden just say, oh, I was listening. I saw Elizabeth's stuff on social media today. She's really prioritizing protein. I'm just going to make sure that I have a large amount of protein. Like, obviously your body's going to go like, what? What's happening? Yeah.
Right. In fact, I'll give you an example. New client, lovely woman, super educated on nutrition, but also there's so much information out there. People get overwhelmed. And she knows, based on stuff from her functional medicine, from her MD, functional MD, she's like, I know I need to be consuming more protein. And she has been skipping breakfast, kind of doing an intermittent fasting thing, doing 2 meals, and it's just not working for her to get the proteins she needs. So she was very open. She's like, I've been doing this for a long time, but I don't feel like it's working. Very open to adding in breakfast. But then when she tried to dive in, she wanted to know what I ate for breakfast. So I told her, but I was like, you don't need to. Anyway, so she dove in, wanting to, exactly what I had. And she was like, oh my gosh, that felt like so much food. And I was like, well, you don't need to have, let's just get you eating some protein in the morning. Let's try. So I gave her some suggestions because she had tried. What I often do is 2 eggs and a cup of cottage cheese, and then whatever veggies or fruit I decide to have. And that's 40 grams of protein. That's a lot. And it's, I feel great doing this, but she was like, oh my gosh, that was just so much food. And I was like, yeah, it sure is, because you haven't been eating anything in the morning. So what if you tried just the cup of cottage cheese, which is going to get you almost 30 grams of protein? Have that in a little fruit. What if you did that? Or what if you did the eggs and cottage cheese, but you did half the amount that I suggested to start, that I'm doing? So you don't need to do exactly what I'm doing. Let's start somewhere. Let's take some baby steps. Let's just try getting some protein in the morning and see how that feels, because just that is going to help get your protein intake up. And then we can, take it from there.
Exactly. Yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah. So I know, like when I do follow like your meals or whatever, when I see what you're eating, like I often look at that and I just think there's no way in hell I could eat that much food. And like I think this is like, I'm kind of speaking a little bit about individuality as well. Like yeah, she's probably, like maybe she's like somebody that's always eaten smaller portions or something like that. And I think there's a certain extent that we can change our metabolism, but then again, we are also different as
smaller
well.
portions are fine, but that's the thing. I think I don't feel like, I recently posted, here was a day of eating, here's how I got over 100 grams of protein eating real food.
Yeah.
And I had a number of people say, wow, you made that so much less intimidating. I could do that. That doesn't seem like a lot of food. So I see a lot of, again, I'm not against protein powders, but I see a lot of people kind of pushing that as some of it's because I have this protein powder that I sell. And again, that's great. But I just see them pushing it like, well, since you can't possibly get enough protein, use this powder. And it's like, no, to me, let's have that as a fallback on a day when we're busy. But I would just rather see people start. There are benefits to chewing our food. That is setting up the whole digest. If you're always sucking down your meals, you are missing part of the digestive process. It starts with us chewing our food.
Yeah.
And, I just, and I feel like also we can get really then accustomed to just these sweet things like that are, everything has to taste sweet. And
exactly. Good
and
point.
I think that's such a great thing.
Good point. On both, yeah, like when you said, digestion begins in the mouth. A lot of people don't realize there's so many enzymes secreted right at the beginning.
It starts actually as we're looking at our food and getting ready to eat.
True.
So I just don't feel like you're getting that same effect when you throw this protein shake in your to-go cup and run out the door. And again, not saying that that's not an option for some days, but our bodies are designed to work a certain way.
Exactly. And, that even gets into the whole like rushing thing. Like, is there a problem with actually sitting down and eating? And if that's a problem, you need to look at your life a little bit, right?
Right. Food is to be, and it's not just this fuel we're putting into our body. It's like meant to be enjoyed. And it's whether you're eating by yourself or with other people, it's like this enjoyable part of the day. Like I look forward to my food. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited for that, whatever I'm having tonight, or, I'm looking forward to it. It's thing I feel like I have a very healthy relationship with it because I truly enjoy it, but I'm not obsessing over it. But I enjoy it. So I agree too with you, Luella. If you can't sit down and eat, I know we all have those days that are, crazy or whatever, but if you can't sit down and really enjoy your meals, like something needs to change because that's just not healthy. Our body, there's that whole fight or flight, that parasympathetic or sympathetic mode, and then that parasympathetic, the rest and digest. And we need to sit down and take a moment, breathe, and
exactly. And then the other thing too, I think I think there's been a lot of like we've been programmed to think that you have to eat, my God, you might perish if you skip. Like if you're that busy, and like you said, we do have those days.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to die. Like
No.
you can wait an hour or two, and
Yeah.
I think you'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not going to exactly. And that's the thing. And when you are, again, when you are eating satiating meals and getting some protein, you
Yeah.
we're adapted, are again, biologically, we're designed to be able to skip a meal and
Yes.
be running on our own body fat. But people have gotten so used to this eating every few hours, always, these little snacks, always putting things in your mouth, and then they become sugar burners. And then you might feel like you're going to die if you don't eat something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, your blood sugar drops, and you feel lightheaded, and exactly.
Right.
That's the whole insulin roller coaster,
Right.
which is a whole other topic.
That's a whole other topic, right? But that a lot of people are on, and because we've been led to believe by marketing and everything, you need to always have these snacks and always, eat 6 times a day, and a meal and then a snack and a meal and then a snack. And I also don't have time for that.
No, nor is that no good. So what would you say, how about, like, I know we've spoken about before, like how protein and just being satiated also curbs a lot of sugar cravings. But let's say, and I'm still this way, like even though I think I eat quite well, I mean, I still have a bit of a sugar craving after a meal. Now, would you say you have the same thing or not?
I don't anymore, but I will say something else that helps me too in the evening. Let's talk about a couple times that people tend to have sugar cravings.
Yeah.
There's kind of that mid to late afternoon witching hour.
Yeah.
That a lot of people have. You're maybe getting a little tired if you're at a desk job or something, and you want we've almost gotten conditioned to have a cup of coffee or a sweet treat. So there's that time. And a lot of times we can totally curb that by more protein at lunch, whenever that is. Maybe a little bit of movement, even if you can't have the luxury of going out for a walk, but maybe even just getting up and down out of your seat for a while, or talking on the phone, standing up. Or maybe that is the time, if there's a long time between lunch and dinner, of having a more satiating snack. Maybe that's the time for nuts or cheese or something like that that's going to hold you for a while. And then we also have that after dinner wanting to pick at something. So I'll give you an example first of a client who that was always her time. I've had several that was their time, was that evening. One woman said, this is Michelle, said to me, it might have been after 2 weeks she was also a breakfast skipper that we gradually added in. She was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that I wasn't feeling good in the mornings until I started eating something. And it wasn't huge, but she had she'd do a lot of my egg bakes and stuff, and just have a small piece of that. And she was like, oh my gosh, like I'm a different person. But so when she started getting protein in the morning and lunch and dinner and really focusing on that. And she was one that also felt good. We just played around with it, not having huge portions of vegetables. She probably after 2 weeks said, my desire to snack at night has vanished. She said, it's gone. I don't want it. I could sit down and watch TV and not even think, and my husband could be eating a snack and I'm going to think, oh, I want something else. Just gone. Something that helps, it kind of for me depends on the timing of the meal. If I've had something sweet earlier in the day, I'm more likely to want something sweet in the evening. Something else I've noticed is if I have a satisfying, like a sweet potato or something and protein. Like the other night I had salmon and like half of a sweet potato because it was really big, and whatever vegetable, I don't remember what it was. And I didn't want anything. Like I had a little kombucha. That's kind of my little tradition. I'll sit and stuff with my dog and have a little glass of kombucha, but I didn't want anything else to eat. You could have, Now, if you put it in front of me, maybe I would have had it, but I had zero desire. So some of it is just eating a satiating meal, and then not
Yeah.
once you have the little taste, you do want more. Like I know those foods. For me, it's chocolate chips. If I start picking at them, I am going to continue to eat them, and I'm going to eat a whole lot. So you know what? I just don't do that anymore. I'm an adult. Like sometimes you just have to say, be a grown up, don't do this. And then the days that I really want the chocolate, yes, I'll have the chocolate. I have like a high quality chocolate bar, like a Who Kitchen or something. I might have the whole thing. That's fine. I don't do it every single day. But like sometimes it's just, come on, be an adult.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I know. We all go back to our childhood like memories and behaviors and all that. And and I think what you're saying too, that I think a lot of people don't realize is just like, I think you correlated the cravings to the sweets to also being like a time where we're tired, right? Like maybe we're brain tired, like you say at the desk, maybe around 2 p.m., 3 p.m. It's sort of our brain is like, okay, enough. And we're thinking, okay, we're right away thinking about
so definitely like brain tired, like you just had a long day. And sometimes you just need to give your brain a break and do something else, get away from the screen, look into the distance. Literally giving your eyes a break is helpful. But also when you are just not sleeping, when you're not getting adequate quality sleep, which happens to all of us at times, I'm definitely happens to me, that throws off the hormones that control hunger and satiety. So I mean, there's a ton of science behind this, but we all know anecdotally when we are tired, we just want more junk. I saw a statistic recently, and I didn't dig up where this came from, but that when people are sleep deprived, you tend to you consume on average 400 more calories over the course of the day. And I do believe that. I do believe that I can tell you there's days where I've done more, more than that.
Yeah, no, I 100%. I believe it as well, because we're all thinking it's almost like a dopamine hit we're searching for at that point. It's sort of, I need something, but that's not how it, like it's not what's going to satisfy you. It's just going to say more of whatever that dopamine hit was, whether it's sugar or, So, okay. So how about some of the other, like in the last, let's say even 6 months of working with clients, because I know when we work with clients, we just discover more and more and more things. What are some recent stories that you've heard from clients that you were able to sort of?
What's great too, great question, Luella. And what's great too is because I have a decent social media presence, it's not just clients, but it's the questions that I get in the DMs on my posts. What do people respond to? What are they saving and sharing or asking questions about? So a big one is, and we can go back and even give some examples, but like, how do I know I want to get more protein. My doctor told me I need more protein. Tell me what that could look like in my day. And then I will ask them, sometimes I'll give them an example. Here's a day of mine. Tell me what are some foods you like. And we kind of play around with that. So we go back. I'm happy to give some examples of that. But another thing that came up last night in the DMs, I just posted a question in my Instagram stories. If you could ask me one thing about health over 50, what would it be? And a question that comes up a lot is, and this was the first one that I got, was, is it harder to build and maintain muscle as you get older? And I believe that for my own example, no, it's easier. It's easier because I'm doing it right. But I just feel that there's this story that we've been told that it gets so much harder as we get older. Everything, your metabolism slows down. There have been studies recently that have showed that nothing really even starts to change until 60. So like, stop giving that excuse. And we tell ourselves the story that we slow down, everything gets harder, we have more aches and pains, and then we look for evidence to support that story. And we can choose to tell a different story. And I've given this example a number of times because it happened such a long time ago, but because my daughter's like a grown adult now, but one of her high school soccer games, one of the moms, who was actually a few years younger than me, sitting on the sidelines and not overweight or anything, but gets out of her chair, says, "Oh, wow, I feel really stiff." And she says, "Well, I guess that's our age." And I just thought to myself, speak for yourself. I'm thinking, I don't feel stiff, but I'm also not sitting in that chair. I'm walking around. I'm cheering for them. I'm up and down the sidelines, having a great time, moving my body because I want to see what's going on. And I'm not going to see if I'm hunched in this little chair on one side. So it's like we can choose to sit there or we can choose to be active at any stage of life. So it's like, and I don't have I don't have aches and pains. I mean, yeah, sometimes we hurt, we have a little injury that we need to deal with at any age. But if you tell yourself you're going to have aches and pains, once you hit 40 or once you hit 50, you're going to start finding those aches and pains.
Exactly. I love how you said that. Yeah. We're looking for reasons. We're looking for excuses, for why, like we're telling ourselves these lies.
Yeah. So I look to be the evidence that, I mean, that's why I'm so bold with all of my bikini pictures and everything, is because I can't, like, there's nothing you can hide when you're in a string bikini. So it's just like, look, you actually can. I'm not perfect, but it's like, I have muscle tone. I've built and maintained this, and it's not hard work, but it's been it's been consistency. It's showing up for myself, but just to show, like, you can tell a different story. Let me be the evidence. Let me be the proof that you can be really happy and comfortable with your body and feel good in your, in your 40s and your 50s and beyond.
And like, yeah, I mean, and let's just also note, like, you're not spending an hour and a half, like, pounding the heavy weights in the gym every day either.
I don't go to the gym. I work out for 15 minutes at home.
Yeah.
And I do use some weights, but a lot of it's just body weight resistance. So
yeah,
I work out, but I do it every day.
Exactly.
It's like, it's been consistency.
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, just simple movement. Like I'm not sitting in my chair all day. Like I'm walking around the house. I'm walking up and down the stairs. I'm doing a walk for my mind and my body, every day.
Right.
It's just, I know.
Yeah, it's all these little things. Another kind of, I guess, objection that I'll get from people is, or, they'll say, "Oh, well, you're lucky," or "It's your genetic," it's your, literally I get, "Oh, well, you're lucky with your DNA." Like, I can't tell you any, and it's okay. I do have a certain bone, like I have a small bone structure, but so that's my bone structure. Someone else might have a larger bone structure and they can have a beautiful fit body. Like, and so I'll say, yeah, maybe it's my DNA, or maybe it's the fact that I've been doing this consistently and showing up for myself. It's
exactly. Well,
it's like, just that our DNA is so similar. The human DNA is so similar across the board. Then there's differences in, like, hair color or eye color or height, these basic, like, structural things, but like we're all really similar.
Right. And it's like the priority is health. Like, I mean, you can have a larger bone structure and still be as healthy as you,
and vibrant and loving your life.
Exactly. Have you ever gotten a DEXA scan, like, to know your exact body composition?
I've had body composition work done, but not for years. The last time I had it done was actually, I did the skin caliper thing, but it's been a long time.
Yeah. I'm just, it would be interesting, right? Like, it's just sort of like, especially when it comes to bone density as we age. Yes. I mean, we do know that's a very important thing to be mindful of. So I've been meaning to do it. Like,
and I did have my bone. I can't remember when the last time I had my bone density checked, but it was right on point. Again, I'm a small boned woman, but it was all fast with flying colors.
Yeah, exactly. So what you're saying that in your, like, in terms of questions that are posed to you, like you're just constantly busting myths.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's really what it is, yeah, people want to have an excuse.
yeah.
I think sometimes people are looking for excuses, or they think it's so time consuming and that's all that you do. And it's like, I don't go to a gym. I haven't in years, just because, and I think it's great. Some people do and love the atmosphere, and that's a community for them. And that's, so again, different things work for different people, but you need to move your body.
Yeah, you need to move your body and you need to eat whole foods.
Yeah.
And we don't care where the protein comes from, whether it's animal or plant or whatever. I mean, like, honestly, I think there is something to be said about individuality. Like, I mean, I think there are and this is about knowing your body, but like I mean, I'm one that would say that I don't say that animal protein is better. I just feel that you're gonna know what feels good to you. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, do you work with any women right now that are vegetarian? And
I do have one longtime vegan client, who's lovely, but it is to get she
yeah.
struggles with some things, but I mean, she's awesome. I adore her. And I'm not here to change anybody's mind. Again, I respect, and I always say, if what you're doing is working, keep doing it. But if it's not, then let's start making some changes, and not all at once. Let's, change one or two things at a time. We don't need to throw everything out at once, because that's very jarring and nothing's going to stick. And, that's why it's, people want this like rigid meal, give me a meal plan, tell me my workouts. Nobody actually does that. It never sticks. It's let's make some subtle changes. Great. How does that feel? Okay. You still want to, okay, then let's adjust this. But to get back to the question, for example, of, people are really responding when I post a day of meals. And I don't like to do that too often, because again, I always make it clear, I'm not telling you to do what I'm doing. I'm just showing you this as an example because you're asking. But most people would, I will say, most women over 50 would benefit from getting up to 100 grams of protein a day.
Okay.
And not everybody's going to. And if they're thriving on less than that, that's 1000% awesome. I personally am very small and I get over 100 grams a day.
Yeah.
And that works really well for me. So an example of, I just posted this recently, would just be a typical day. My eggs and cottage cheese in the morning with whatever fruit or veggies or both I'm in the mood for, have on hand, whatever. That's going to get me 40 grams of protein. 40 grams of protein right there. I've also probably put some collagen in my coffee, but I'm not even thinking about that. I'm not even, even if I don't count that. Then say for lunch, a can of albacore tuna, just a little can of tuna. That's not a lot. That's 30 grams of protein. Instead of mayo, I'll use Greek yogurt, adding another 5 grams of protein. So it's 35 grams of protein in just a little. That's not a lot of food. And then put it on some greens or whatever. You can dip veggies, whatever you feel like. But that's not a large quantity of food. That's not scary. That's not, nobody is stuffed on, nobody is stuffed on that, but they feel satiated. They feel good. And then that particular day, I had chicken drumsticks. I was just in the mood for them. It's not something I have often. I had 2 chicken drumsticks with the skin on and whatever veggies I had. And that was another 44 grams of protein. So right there, I'm well over 100 grams of protein. Other than, the breakfast might be larger than some people are used to. But again, you don't need to start there. That was really easy. I was not stuffing myself. There were no chocolate milkshake protein bars or birthday cake flavored protein shakes involved. That was just eating real food, and not even large quantities. 2 chicken drumsticks is not a lot of meat. Like, it's
No, I know. And like, you remind me again of those protein powders. Like I've tried it over and over again. And I know the last time I tried it too, it's just sort of like, I'm not used to this type of sweetness, like
Sweetness,
that
right?
stevia, for example, and stuff like that. And like it, yeah, it was a total turn off for me.
Yeah, to me, it tastes. It's like an artificial sweetness that I don't think we need to be having birthday cake flavored things daily. Like
No,
that's
especially
birthday
for
cake should be
breakfast.
right. Like anytime. Like to me, that's just the and and then it's a very most of them are a very process. I have a few that and I do like the Four Sigmatic plant based protein. I think is nice and it's not overly sweet. Um, but also those processed plant proteins, like the pea protein, they work well for some people, not well for others. Like for me personally, that always makes me feel bloated. So like
Hmm.
I know to avoid it. So I just think when we are getting these protein powders, you can have some digestive stuff because it's now isolated from the real foods that it's a part of.
Exactly. I agree. Do you work with any women that are 70 and older?
I just haven't. I would be
Yeah,
very
yeah.
open to it. Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, I just, because of sarcopenia and
Yeah.
the importance of maintaining muscle on your body as we age, for like completely like we're not even talking about weight people. Like
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
yeah.
saying
Just general health. I do have a woman in my very involved in my community, but she's like not a one-on-one client who just turned 70, looks amazing, vibrant. I
Mhm.
haven't met her in person, but this is a woman who is thriving at 70. So
Yeah, yeah. And what's her activity like? Do you know?
I don't know, but I know
Okay.
she eats very similarly to the way I eat. Like has
Okay.
asked a lot of questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and she's skin is glowing. Um and yeah, but again, haven't met in person and I don't know how, but I know she lives a very active lifestyle. I don't know
Yeah.
specifically, does she work out daily? I don't know, but I know she's very active and enjoying her life,
And
which
see,
is
like that is such an important aspect that we haven't really talked about here, but it's sort of like she lives an active life, like she's enjoying life. So I can picture this woman interacting like in the community, getting out into the community, like it's just so important. Like, I mean, it's important to have a healthy relationship about food, but life is also not all about food either.
no,
Like there's
it's
so
about
many
just living
other.
your right. But and when you have a healthy relationship with food, you can live your life.
Mhm.
If you're relying on like somebody who's just relying on these, really has to follow some really strict meal plan or has to have has these shakes twice a day or like it kind of impedes with your ability to just go out and live life sometimes.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, this obsession about, yeah, so we should mention that as well. Like, I mean, we cannot now become obsessed, am I getting enough grams of protein in a day? We're like, it's just all about, being cognizant, like when you like that your meal isn't nachos, right? Like, I
Right,
mean,
right. And
yeah.
that's why, when I say prioritize protein and produce, my whole point with that is to give people a template that they can use anywhere they go. So
Mhm.
you can eat out anywhere and make that happen.
Mhm.
You can get a nice piece of fish and a vegetable and a salad or a steak and whatever at a sit down restaurant. You can go to a convenience store and even in a pinch, you could grab some like hard boiled eggs and the cut up apple slices or whatever and
Yeah.
grab something that's not a giant sugar bomb or a protein, a cookies and cream flavored protein bar.
Yeah.
Um, you can certainly do this in your own home, but or just like any type of restaurant, you can figure out a way to make that work. It's not hard. So that's the whole idea that you have this way of eating that just works for you. I mean, that's the thing that what's so interesting with clients as I work with them long term is I'm just kind of winding down with a woman who's worked with me for a year, and now we're spacing out. She's doing so great on her own, but she's lost over 25 pounds. She's in her late 50s. She's lost over 25 pounds very sustainably. She's at a weight she hasn't seen since her 20s. She's wearing a size that she has not worn since her teens, since she was in high school. And during this, she's gone on multiple trips. She's gone through some hard things like losing a parent, family stuff. You know, she's gotten through Thanksgiving, Christmas, traveling, staying with friends for a week, which is a whole different type of travel. You know, so like all of these real life situations that she's been in, but because there was never a rigid meal plan, it was all playing around with what works with her lifestyle. It's really easy for her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's helped her marriage because she's not, oh, I have to pack up my, you know, yeah, actually, when she travels, she does pack some things that she enjoys that make life easier. But it's not about, oh, I can't go out to eat because I need to eat my, you know, these frozen meals that were delivered or whatever.
Yeah.
It's, or I can only have a portion of, you know, this big. I talked to one woman and she told me about this meal plan she was on. And I said, those are portions for a toddler. No wonder you were miserable. Like, that's not your,
Yeah.
you know, like, so, you know, it's so like not restrictive.
Oh my God.
That's the whole idea, is to just have a lifestyle that makes it really easy.
It's so true. Like, I mean, even like as you were speaking, you know, about her traveling and stuff like that, I just had visions in my mind too of, you know, being in the airport and, you know, like, and sometimes people are just, this is why this, you know, you getting this information out is so important. It's because often, like, I feel bad for people because they're just actually ignorant about it. Like, for example, if you're walking through an airport and you're realizing, you know, geez, I better eat something because it's going to be like about 5 hours and then I'm going to need to find my hotel and I don't want a headache or whatever. So they might pass like whatever little restaurant that's there, and they might see a gigantic Caesar salad full of like croutons and Caesar, like all this Caesar salad dressing that God knows is made with
who knows
what
what's
kind of
in
oils.
it. Right.
You know, rather than pick up a banana and like a bag of nuts.
Right.
You know,
it's just right.
Simplicity is where it's at. Whole
Simplicity
food
really is where it's at. And that's another thing I say a lot. You know, I say prioritize protein and produce and eat foods without an ingredients list. Like, eat foods without an ingredients list.
Yeah.
You know, my dinner the other night of salmon. Oh, it was salmon, a sweet potato, and Brussels sprouts. The Brussels sprouts I tossed in some olive oil and some stuff and roasted. But like, those foods don't have an ingredients list. They're just food.
Exactly. Like when you think about that meal that you just described, like if you actually had to like deliver it to somebody and list like the ingredients, like they would probably, like, I mean, there would be the 3 and then salt and pepper and maybe another spice.
Yeah, there was like, it was just real food and it was delicious. And it was so satisfying. Like, I didn't want anything else after that.
No.
It tasted good. It was a lot different flavors, different textures.
Yeah.
And different colors. And I was so satisfied, but there's no ingredients list there.
The colors, that's another, such an important thing. And you're right. It's just sort of like, and eat seasonally as well. Like, it's so funny you mentioned sweet potatoes because it's literally out in my counter right now to tackle for tonight. Yeah.
So that's another thing, you know, it's just when you're eating locally and seasonally, you know, as much as you can. Again, we're not perfect. It just makes that's what our bodies are designed for also.
Yeah. Oh, and another good, you know, point I should say here too is like Elizabeth is, you know, a single woman, more or less, as far as I know. And sort of like, and because this is another like excuse that people will say, oh, you know, if I was cooking for a family, you know, it would be like,
to me, it's so great to cook for myself because I can make exactly what I want. I'm not, I mean, and I love cooking for people, don't get me wrong. And that's really fun for me. And I enjoy it. But I actually find it so freeing. So um, to me, it's like there's almost no excuse not to eat really well if you're single because you only have to feed yourself. So you can choose things that you enjoy, that you know are nourishing and that work for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to have, people blame, oh, well, my husband brings all this stuff into the house, or, I have to have this stuff for him. So they'll blame. So yeah, to me, it's like, and again, you don't need to do anything complicated. And I also have the luxury of when I cook, I'll often make extra because I don't mind leftovers. So I'll be like, oh, great. Now I get to have that again for lunch tomorrow. I don't have to think and I don't have to, I know lunch is ready and it's going to be really good.
Exactly. No, I know it. Like it's not an excuse, people. It's not an excuse.
People will find excuses. I mean, we all do it. I look for excuses, not about my food because this thing I enjoy, but for taking care of myself. But we all look for excuses. I was looking for excuses about money, and stories. And you know what? Stop. We're responsible for ourselves.
Yeah.
We're all responsible for ourselves.
I think that's a great way to end this episode. Is sort of like it always starts with you. Like me. I'm big in the relationship a piece too of life, and it starts with you. It's interesting, like I'll just like for myself, I had a call. Whenever I get a call from a man who's sounding quite desperate on the phone, like I know it's a relationship issue, and he says, oh, coordination of my wife and I, like it could be hard, like to book these sessions, and I'm like, well, we can start with you. And he's like, well, what do you mean? Like I said, well, I'm sure we could spend quite a bit of time just talking about you. And he didn't like that idea. It's like, no, this is a couple. And I'm going, okay.
Yeah. But no, that's so interesting. And yes, everyone wants to, and again, from someone who has gone through, therapy and counseling, all kinds of things. I know we want to just make it all about the other person instead of looking at ourselves and what are we bringing to this, or what changes could we make, or what boundaries could we set?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Another good point there. All right. Well, it's been fun. Yeah.
Yes.
And everyone will list everything about Elizabeth in the show notes. Check out her posts on social media because it's truly is inspirational, and she's all about simplicity, as you know. And so
awesome.
Okay. Well, anybody else? We'll catch you next week. Okay. Bye.
Sounds good. Thanks, Luella. Bye.
Bye. Thanks once again for joining me on another great episode of I Think I Can podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe below so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And until next week, treat each day like it was your last, because each new day is a privilege that we shan't take for granted. Cheers and have a great week. Bye-bye.